Hey, this is Wayside School Beneath the Cloud of Doom, Chapter 13, called Umbrella. Sherry liked walking in the rain. She liked stomping through puddles in her yellow rain boots. Most of all, she loved her umbrella, even if it did get heavy after a while. Her umbrella was purple with green stripes, or maybe it was green with purple stripes. She couldn't be sure. The whole thing was covered with yellow polka dots of various sizes. She liked listening to the raindrops bounce off of it. The harder it rained, the better the sound. She liked the feel of the smooth, curved wooden handle. She was still a block away from school when she heard the whoop whoop. Now she was going to be late. She had done too much puddle stomping and not enough straight-ahead walking. She tried to hurry, but it was difficult to run while carrying her umbrella, especially in her yellow boots. By the time she reached the outer edge of school, the 8-minute warning bell was already clanging. She counted the clangs and was disappointed when they stopped at 8. She was hoping for a porcupine. Glancing down, she noticed the sidewalk around the school was dry. She stuck out one hand, and the rain seemed to have stopped. She tilted the umbrella a little to the side and looked up. The cloud of doom had kept all the other clouds away, including the rain clouds. Sherry glared at the horrible cloud. It almost seemed alive as she had churned itself inside. Suddenly, a gust of wind tore the umbrella from her hand. Horrified, she watched it bounce across the blacktop towards the school. She chased after it. The umbrella hit the bike rack and stuck there for a moment, but just as Sherry got there, it swooped upward. She jumped and managed to grab the curved handle. The umbrella continued to rise. She thought about letting go, but she didn't want to lose her umbrella. She held on with both hands. When she passed the second floor window, she probably should have let go sooner. Then she rose past the third floor. She wished she had let go of the second floor. When she reached the fourth floor, she wished she had let go when she was back at the third floor. By the time she reached the sixth floor, it was definitely too late. She left the rain boot slipped off as she passed the ninth floor. She watched it fall a long way down, higher and higher, scarier and scarier. She passed the 17th floor, the 18th, the 20th. There was no 19th floor. She could see inside the classroom windows, and then, as she went past some of the kids were waving at her. She couldn't wave back. She couldn't risk falling, although the alternative wasn't much better. If she continued to hang on, she realized she'd be sucked into the cloud of doom. She passed the 25th floor, then the 26th, then the 27th. She knew the floor numbers by the teachers she saw through the windows. At the 30th floor, she could see her own desk next to the window. The window was open. She closed her eyes and jumped. A horn blared. When Sherry opened her eyes, she laid sprawled across the top of her desk. "Oh, you are here, Sherry," said Mrs. Jules. "Funny I didn't see you. I was just about to mark you absent. Were you sleeping?" Maybe it was a dream. She'd hoped so. If not, her favorite umbrella was lost forever. Her left foot felt cold. On her right foot, she wore a yellow rain boot, but on the left, just a thin red sock. Chapter 14, Mr. K and Dr. P. Author's note: due to strict rules about confidentiality and to avoid unnecessary embarrassment for those involved, the names of the characters have been omitted from the story. Please don't try and guess. Mr. K headed up the stairs. He wore a paper bag over his head. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. All the little brats, as he liked to call them, should be in class, but he wore the paper bag just in case he encountered a stray one. When he reached the third floor, he tripped over the top step and fell into the landing. "I knew I should have cut some eye holes," he said to himself. His knee hurt, but that was the least of his worries. He got back to his feet and limped up the stairs. Actually, only one eye hole would have helped. His left eye was shut tight. The other eye was wide open. His eyebrow was raised in a constant expression of surprise. By counting his steps, he knew when he reached the fourth floor. He felt his way to the door and then knocked. "Yes, who's there?" asked Dr. P from the other side. Mr. K did not want to say his name out loud in case anyone was listening. He opened the door and entered. If Dr. P was surprised to see a person with a bag over his head, he didn't show it. He had been trained to keep a straight face no matter what. Whenever someone came to see him, it was part of his job to act like everything was perfectly normal. "Yes, what seems to be the problem?" he asked, stroking his beard. Mr. K removed the bag. "Yikes!" screamed Dr. P, throwing both his hands in the air. He quickly regained his composure. "So why did you come to see me?" He rubbed his beard. Mr. K made a noise and pointed to his face. Your face is stuck, said Dr. P. Mr. K nodded. Please have a seat. Mr. K sat on the couch. Dr. P came closer with a better look. He poked his puffed out cheek. Does it hurt? He asked. Mr. K shook his head. How about this? He tugged on the tip of Mr. K's tongue. Again, Mr. K shook his head. Very interesting, said Dr. P. He walked to the bookshelf. He muttered as he tried to find the book he needed. This should do it, he declared, removing a very fat book. He bonked Mr. K on top of the head with it. Exclaimed Mr. K. Any better? Said Dr. P. I bit my tongue, Mr. K said without moving his lips. Well, this will be more difficult than I thought, said Dr. P. He returned to the bookshelf, chose a different book, and brought it to his desk. He thumbed through the pages. Cold feet? Sticky fingers? Here we are, stuck face. He silently read to himself for a minute or two, and then looked up and asked, Did you have a pet when you were a child? Mr. K nodded. Dr. P looked back at his book and read some more. A cat? Mr. K shook his head. A dog? He nodded. Did you love your dog? Mr. K's his head didn't move at all. A tear trickled out of his eye and dripped down his face. Excellent, declared Dr. P. I think we're making real progress. He shut the book, scooted his chair up close, and leaned towards Mr. K. Look into my eyes, he said. With one eye, Mr. K stared at Dr. P. Dr. P stared back. He held up a gold chain with a green stone attached. He let the stone swing gently back and forth between them, their faces so close the stone kept barely missing their noses. I'm going to take back to another time and place, said Dr. P. You are just a young boy playing with your dog in your backyard. Your grandmother smiles from the kitchen window. A pie is baking in the oven. You can smell the cinnamon. Mr. K's nose twitched. Now your grandmother is outside holding the pie. She asks if you want some. Mr. K's tongue remained sticky now. However, it slowly moved from one side of his mouth to the other. Dr. P noted the breakthrough. But instead of giving you a piece of pie, he said, she smashes it in your face. Mr. K's mouth popped open, then his face snapped back into place. His eyebrow lowered, his eye opened, his cheek unpuffed, his tongue went back inside where it belonged. Why did she do that to me? He cried. Dr. P handed him a tissue. Mr. K wiped his eyes and then cleaned the imaginary pie off his face. He stood and straightened his suit. You won't tell anybody anything about this, will you? He asked. Everything that happens inside my office is strictly confidential, Dr. P assured him. Mr. K left the office feeling as dignified as ever. Dr. P leaned back in his chair with his hands behind his head. He felt very satisfied. It's not every day that you get to help someone as important as Mr. K. Dr. P's tongue was sticking out. His left eyebrow was raised. His right eye was shut tight, and it looked like he was trying to swallow a tennis ball. Chapter 15, The Unbreakables. It's bad enough when two friends fight. It's even worse when three friends pick on a fourth. Joe and John were best friends. Shut up, said Joe. You shut up, said John. Rodney and Allison were best friends. May I borrow a pencil? Asked Allison. Here, stick it up your nose, said Rodney. Maybe it was because they were worried and anxious about the cloud of doom looming over them. Maybe it was because their fingernails and toenails were growing so fast. For whatever reason, the longer everyone spent beneath the cloud, the crabbier they got. Mauricia, Joy, Dee, and Ron were more than just best friends forever. Their friendship was so strong they called themselves the Unbreakables. Every morning they met before school by the flagpole. They had a special four-handed handshake. Each one would hold out a hand. They'd unlock their thumbs and pinkies. Then they'd raise and lower their hands 3 times and shout, Unbreakable! The lunch bell kaboinked 4 times and the Unbreakables headed down the stairs together. I wonder what we're having today, Dee Dee said. Didn't you count the kaboinks? Asked Mauricia. Spaghetti and feetballs, said Joy. Oh, I like those, said Dee Dee. You would, said Ron. They smell as bad as your feet. He held his nose. My feet don't stink, said Dee Dee. Joy held her nose too and said, Not to you, but to everyone else. Mauricia and Ron laughed. They entered the cafeteria. Dee Dee took a tray and pushed it to Miss Mush. The lunch teacher handed a plate of spaghetti and topped with a foot-shaped meat patty. Dee Dee set the plate on her tray next to her history book. She was careful not to spill any feet sauce. Her half-finished homework was folded inside the book, and it was due after lunch. She sat down with the others at one of the long tables. She cut off a piece of feet ball, swished it around in the sauce, and ate it. "You eat the heel first?" asked Mauricia. "So, what's wrong with that?" asked Dee Dee. "It's gross," said Ron. "You're supposed to start with the toes." "Who says?" "It's just how it's done," asked Joy. "Ask anyone." "You don't know everything," Dee Dee said angrily as she shook her fork at her friends. A bit of sauce dropped on her paper. "Now look what you did," she accused them. "You did it to yourself," said Joy. Dee Dee tried to wipe it with her napkin, but that only made it worse. "Now I have to start all over," she complained. Dee Dee remained in the cafeteria long after her friends left to go play. She still had one question to answer and one last toad to eat. It didn't seem fair that her friends were outside playing and she was stuck inside. "Stupid Ron," she muttered. "Stupid Mauricia. Stupid Joy. They're the ones with stinky feet." When at last she finished, she put her dishes in the dish tray and dumped her trash. She hurried out of the lunchroom and down the stairs. Once outside, she saw them playing three-square and wasn't sure if she even wanted to join them. Suddenly, her face filled with horror. "Oh no!" she called out, and then pulled her hair with both hands. She didn't have her homework or her history book. She turned and ran back into the building. Miss Mush and Mr. Pepper Ratter were busy whipping the counter with their dish rags when Dee Dee came rushing up towards them. "Hi, Dee Dee. Did you want seconds?" Miss Mush asked hopefully. "We put everything away, but I'd be happy to heat up another plate." Out of breath, Dee Dee explained to her about her book and her homework. Neither Miss Mush nor Mr. Pepper Ratter remembered seeing it. "And I've already dumped all the trash," said Mr. Pepper Ratter. "There are 4 large dumpsters in the back of Wayside School. A pair of feet was sticking up out of one of them." Upside down, buried in the trash, Dee Dee tried to read every wrinkled and soggy piece of paper as she strung through all the half-eaten feet balls, strands of spaghetti, drippy milk cartons, apple cores, pickle slices, and who knows what else. "It's impossible! There's no way!" she cried, upside down. Then, when all hope seemed lost, a noise came from somewhere deep inside the dumpster next to hers. "Found it!" called Ron. Rustling sounds could be heard inside the other 2 dumpsters as well. "Hooray!" cried Mauricia. "Wow, what a relief!" shouted Joy. Yes, there were 6 other feet sticking up from the dumpsters. They were the Unbreakables. Not even the Cloud of Doom could destroy their friendship. But that was their only first test. The ultimate test was still to come.